welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do a video about my board game collection. Nick and I have been building up a board game collection for a couple years now. We are obsessed with board games. We love board games so much. In fact, tonight Nick is going to be at a work board game night. Like, he's going to hang out with his friends specifically to play board games. So yeah, we love board games, and we have quite a few. So I wanted to kind of go through them, give you like a quick 1-2 sentence review of them, and yeah, I'll try to be really quick because like I said, we have a lot, and I'm going to stop introing now. I'm just going to go. The first one, actually, this is the expansion for it, but it's Betrayal at House on the Hill. This is a board game where you and your friends are in a mansion, a haunted mansion you're exploring, and at some point in the middle of the game, a traitor is revealed, and the traitor suddenly gets different goals where they're trying to usually kill all the other players, sometimes trap them, sometimes send them to a different planet, sometimes, you know, enslave them, all different sorts of things. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's so good. It's you build the house as you're exploring it with different tiles, so it has amazing replayability. There's like 75 with the expansion. There's like a ton. There's 100 haunts actually, so 100 different stories that could happen. And yeah, it's really good. The expansion adds new haunts and some new rooms and an attic level. So yeah, it's really good. It's one of my favorite games. Next we have the Fallout board game, which I'm sure, as you know, is one of my favorite games ever. I've only had it a couple of months, not even, probably like 1 month. And I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. It's basically, it feels just like a Fallout video game. Like, it has quests, it has characters, it has NPCs, it has like leveling up, it has radiation, it has health, it has all these things. It makes it feel a lot like a real Fallout game. Highly recommend if you're a fan of Fallout, and I still recommend it even if you're not a fan of Fallout, because I think you'll still enjoy it. You just might not get all the jokes as much, I guess. Next we have Galaxy Trucker, and it's 2 expansions. So yeah, this is more of Nick's favorite game. Basically, you are a trucker in the galaxy. You have a spaceship, and at the beginning of the game, there's a build phase where you have to put together the spaceship out of different pieces. It's kind of a race, like you're timed. You only have a certain amount of time to put your ship together, and then you have to go through your delivery trip, basically, and try to get to the other side with some cargo and hopefully your ship intact. It's really fun. I like it only if we can do the build phase untimed. That's usually how we do it when we're playing with new people, because they don't understand all the different pieces of the ship yet. But I find it's just too much pressure, and I'd rather... I play this game because it's fun to build a perfect ship and a nice ship and be like, look how cool my ship is, than to like beat the other players when it comes to points. So yeah, I like playing it without a timer personally, but yeah, it's really fun. Obviously Nick is obsessed with it. I got him all the expansions that I could get my hands on at the time. And yeah, it's really fun. Next we have Mysterium. This is a game where you and your friends play as psychics, again in a haunted mansion, and you are trying to solve a murder that happened there. One of the players plays as a ghost, the victim of the murder, and tries to communicate with the psychic detectives via visions, aka very abstract vision cards, where you try to communicate who did it, where they did it, and what weapon they used to do it. I really like it. I really like playing as the ghost, the one who has to try to communicate these things to the other players. I always find games that mess with your communication with each other very interesting, like the fact that you have to use these pictures and these images and try to send forward a message when there's no clear terms. It's very fun. And yeah, I also love a good like mystery deduction kind of thing. Oh, next we have Arkham Horror, which is another huge long game. It's based off of obviously like Lovecraftian monsters. You are a team of investigators. It's another co-op game actually. You're a team of investigators trying to figure out what is going on in Arkham as a Elder One slowly takes over the city. So basically you are running around the city, you're trying to fight enemies. There's these portals that keep opening to other dimensions. You have to go into those other dimensions to close the portals, and ultimately you're trying to stop the advancement of this Elder One, which is different every game. And if the Elder One awakens, then you have to fight it but you don't really get to fight it. You kind of just die at that point because it's so overpowered. So you're kind of at a race to try to shut down its power before it wakes up. It's a great game. I love it so much. I find it very interesting. I love that it's co-op. I love strategizing with my fellow teammates and trying to figure out how we should do this, like who should go to which portal. But yeah, I really like it and I highly recommend it. It is a really long game. That's the only thing. Next, I might as well show off super loud Tetris Duel. This is a game that Nick got for Christmas from his sister, and it's really fun. It's kind of goofy, but it's basically you play Tetris. The board is actually like a stand-up board that you put the pieces in, and you're playing against each other. Every time you get a line, every time you complete a line, you get points, and every time you leave an open spot where it can't possibly be filled, you lose points, and go back and forth. The game tells you which piece you have to use. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. It's a nice, fun little two-player game for if you want to play a game in like 20 minutes when you're like waiting for something or whatever. Next, I have Gloom, which is just a little card game. I actually haven't played this one in a long time. I don't know if this game. It's a storytelling game. So what happens is you are given a family of characters. There's a couple different families you can choose from, and you you make them unhappy until they die, until you kill them. So basically what happens is you get a set of characters, and you get different events that you can play on the characters, and the point is to make their lives as miserable as possible. So it's called Gloom, and then eventually when they're unhappy enough, you get these, I forget what they're called, but they're death cards that you play on them that kills them. I don't know how to explain this game to people without me sounding like a sociopath, but it's a really fun game. Basically, it's a lot of storytelling, so the cards only have small prompts on them, like pursued by poodles, or delighted by ducklings, or petitioned by parliament, or stuff like that. And so you have to come up with reasons why your characters, whether it be, you know, the old man who owns a huge estate, or it be his butler, or it be like one of the families has a dog, and you have to try to explain kind of like why they got in that position. Yeah, it's really fun. These two are older games, and I've never actually played them. So we have Millborn and Pit. I have not played either of these games, so I can't really tell you what they're like. All I know is that they're Nick's favorites from his childhood, so take that as you will. We also have Avalon, which is a game, I don't really like this game, but Nick loves it. He actually probably wishes he could play it a lot more than he gets to. But yeah, basically everyone is given secret identities, so you're either good or bad, and the good people are trying to find out who the bad people are, and the bad people are trying to sabotage the missions that they're all going on together. And so basically there's a couple different rounds where you go through and you go on missions together, and you can either put forward a motion in secret, put it forward to either pass or fail the mission, and then using that logic you deduce who is evil and who is good. Like if that person went on all the missions that failed, they're probably the evil person, etc. I don't really like it because it involves a lot of bluffing. I'm terrible at bluffing. It involves a lot of accusing other people and pitting people against each other, which I don't like. So yeah, it's not one of my favorite games ever, but I know that a lot of other people really enjoy it and that it's a well-liked game. Now we also have Wizard School, which is a pretty fun game. It was made by the Vlogbrothers. It's by DFTBA Games, so that's their like board game company or whatever. It was kickstarted. I backed it because it sounded really cool. It's basically a card game where you are going to a wizard school. You have to go through 4 years of it, and there's tests and exams and events that you have to go through and use your abilities and your spells and stuff like that to defeat those events. It's pretty fun. It's a bit dense when it comes to the different, like trying to play it. It feels like there's always a lot happening, more than needs to be happening. You always have like a ton of cards in front of you. It can get really confusing. So, I mean, it's funny. I like the art style. I like the stories that come along with it. I still enjoy playing it, but yeah, it can be a bit difficult, especially for new players. We also have Catchphrase, which if you don't know what Catchphrase is, I'm sorry your life has been this way. It's basically you are given a word on this thing and you have to try to get your team members to guess what that word is by describing it without using the word. It's so much fun. If you haven't played it, play Catchphrase. Next we have Exploding Kittens, which is the board game by, yeah, the Oatmeal. And a couple other people. Yeah, it was another Kickstarter card game. Basically what happens is you get a bunch of cards and you're trying to not have the exploding kitten, basically. There's a bunch of different ways you can do that. There's different cards that pass the cards around. There's cards that help you by discarding or pulling more cards. There's cards that I think switch the order of who's going. And there's like diffusal cards. That means if someone forces you to play the exploding kitten, then you can defuse it. But yeah, it's a really funny game. I've only played it a couple times myself. But yeah, it's really, really funny. All the cards are ridiculous. We have the NSFW version, so that tells you what kind of ridiculous art is on these cards. But yeah, it's a really funny game. Then there's Guillotine, which is the revolutionary card game where you win by getting ahead. So basically you are a guillotine user, what would it be called? An executioner, I guess, during the French Revolution when all the nobles are getting their heads chopped off. There's 3 days. Every day, new lineup of nobles is created in front of the guillotine, and you and your fellow executors are trying to kind of volley for the best, most prestigious heads. So, you know, you get more points for chopping the head off a duke than the duke's maid, for example. And so you also get a hand of cards that changes the order of the line and messes with your other players and stuff like that. It's really fun. I really like this game. It's very silly, obviously, but yeah, it's still a really good game. It's super easy to learn. You learned it. You already learned how to play it, basically. Next up is Pact Works, which is an excellent, 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 excellent game. It is very simple. Basically, you are trying to make a quilt faster and better than your opponent. So you each get your own quilt boards, and you go around a main board and you buy pieces of quilt, like patches of fabric, and you try to build a quilt. That's pretty much it. This is one of those games that's technically, it's for 2 players and it's technically a versus game, but I always just kind of like play against myself. Like I try to build like the best quilt I can with no spaces empty and like with round, like, full corners and stuff like that. But yeah, you get points by how many buttons are on your quilt and stuff like that. So it's a really fun game. It's very easy. You've already learned how to play it, basically. So yeah, if you're looking for a 2-player game, like if you're like us who, you know, it's just the 2 of us living here together, so, you know, we need 2-player games, this is a great one. Next is Unusual Suspects, which is a very silly game. It's basically, it's kind of like Guess Who, but instead of asking about the people's appearance, you ask about their personalities. So you get a bunch of characters, kind of like these characters, and there's one witness. One person plays as the witness and everyone else plays as detectives, and they ask the witness questions that are on cards in here, and they ask about the suspect's personalities as opposed to how they look. So they say, some of them are like, does this person do yoga? And the person who is the witness and like knows what the person looks like looks at the person and says, is this a person who looks like they would do yoga? Yes or no, and then they answer, and then the detectives have to go off of that. So like on this list, I don't think this elderly woman does yoga. Like, I'm sorry if you're an elderly woman who does yoga, but I don't think this elderly woman does yoga. So I would say that this person didn't do it. She's not the suspect. And then depending on the witness's perspective on elderly women doing yoga, that could be right or that could be wrong. And so yeah, it gets a little silly. So yeah, it's really fun, really simple. Again, you've already learned it. It's that simple. The next one is one that we got for Christmas. It's called Wormhole. It's a kind of old trivia game where there's a board and you go around and you have to answer trivia questions. It's pretty fun. It's trivia. It's really hard because it's older stuff. Like, it's a lot of stuff that we either don't know or like don't really think about very often. Like, and a lot of like American stuff, which is a huge problem in Canada trying to do trivia. All the trivia is based in America and we don't know like anything about that. But yeah, it's fun. Next is Coup Rebellion. This one is very similar to Avalon in a lot of ways. There are secret identities and you are trying to figure out whose identity is whose. You basically try to figure out based on how they act with the rest of the game when they try to gain coins. And if you are accused of being someone, you can lie and say that you're not, or that you are. Well, you lie and say that you're not, and then people can call you on that lie and stuff like that. I don't know it very well because I don't play it very much because, again, a lot of pitting people against each other, a lot of competition, a lot of lying, bluffing. I'm garbage at that. So yeah, I don't play that much, but Nick really likes it. And the original Coup game, I don't know, we definitely own a copy of Coup, I don't know where it is, which is just like a smaller version of this game. Next we have ooh, it's heavy, Cranium, which is an excellent fun party game that no one ever wants to play with me because it's not like complicated enough, I guess. Basically, you go around the board and you have a partner and you challenge to different things. So there's trivia, there's like language and vocabulary, and then there's Star Performer, which is things like charades and humming songs, and then there's Creative Cat, where you get to draw or use the Play-Doh that comes with the game to try to get the other person to guess what it is. It's really fun. I always have a great time playing it, but it's not very popular with my group of friends, so it's more of a family game. This is Concept, which is a really fun game. I find it very interesting to play. I haven't gotten a chance to play it in a long time because it's better with more people. But basically you get into teams and you go around and you try to get, you pick a card and you pick a word on that card or a thing, and you try to get the other people to guess what it is by using different concepts. So the board has a bunch of different like little icons on it. So there's like one for male and female and movie and book and hot and cold and big and small, and like there's a ton of them. And you have to use these little markers and place them on the things that apply. So let's say it was the movie The Titanic. You would put your first clue on movie, and then you would put maybe your second clue on love, like the love heart that's there, and like male and female. And then for the next one, you would put it on like boat one, like the vehicle icon, and then you would put the other half of that clue on the like crash symbol or the fire symbol or the sinking symbol. I don't remember what all the symbols are, but yeah, that's basically the idea, and then you try to guess based on like what the different concepts are. I like it a lot because it, again, challenges the way that you communicate with other people, makes it a little bit more difficult. It can be frustrating at times when people aren't getting what you're trying to say and it's so obvious to you and they're just not getting it. But yeah, I really enjoy it. Next is Sequence, which is a kind of an older, old school game. I mean, judging by the outfits and the people on the back, it's very old school. How do I explain Sequence? Basically, you get there's a board that has 2 decks worth of cards on the board, and then you have a hand of cards, and every time you play one of the cards you can cover that card on the board with a piece, and then you're trying to basically get 5 in a row or 4 in a row depending on how many people are playing before the other team does that. And you can like block each other, and like there's a wild card that like lets you remove the other player's pieces if they're like about to get a sequence. It's really fun. I really like it. It's a great game to play like when we go home and we're playing games with our parents who don't want to sit down for 7 hours and fight Cthulhu. They just want to play a game that they know. So yeah, I really like this game. It doesn't take too long either, and me and Nick always kick my parents' butt at it, so take that, Mom. Here's another version of Catchphrase. This is an old game. This is 1994. So this is as old as me as a human. So it's like the analog version of the catchphrases that you get nowadays. Instead of it being all digital, there's like a physical thing with like discs that you switch out that spin around and when you get the catchphrase. But yeah, still highly recommend this as a game, a party game. If you want to break the ice, this is a good one. Then one of the last ones is Portal. I have never played this game actually, but I think from what I've heard from like Nick, who has played it a couple times, it plays a lot like the game. It's basically you're just trying to move your little test subjects along. You build the board as you go, I think. But yeah, I can't really speak to this one that much. But yeah, Portal. The last one, I guess, I'm not actually going to show you because it's tucked away over there and I don't want to have to try to pull it out. 2 of them, yeah, there's 2 of them. First one is Battlestar Galactica and the expansion Pegasus. And basically that is a game where you are playing a Battlestar Galactica situation where you're in space and you're, trying to deal with that stuff. One or more of the crew is a secret Cylon, and you're trying to figure out who the Cylon is, and the Cylon is trying to sabotage everything that you do as you try to like travel through space and fight the enemy. It's never quite really grabbed me. I know Nick loves it, I know his coworkers love it, I know that they played a lot and they love it so much they basically board game night turned into Battlestar Galactica night for a while. I don't really like the fact that someone is, for the whole game, always working against you. And it's like, I don't really like the bluffing and the lying of like secret identities kind of thing. I'd rather that kind of stuff be like out on the table and I know who is my enemy. It's also a really long game, so if even the fact that like I don't mind it, when you don't mind something for 6 hours straight, you start hating it and want to stop playing. So yeah, I don't really play that one that much. It's usually love. And then the last one is Legend of Drizzt, which is actually a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's basically little mini campaigns. It comes with a series of campaigns that are very short, and you don't need to have a dungeon master, which is one of the nice things, because I know a lot of the times when if a group of people want to play D&D, it might be hard to find a dungeon master because everyone wants to play D&D, they want to play it, they don't want to help other people play it. So you don't need that. The game kind of is it for you. And yeah, it's really fun. We haven't actually played it in a while for whatever reason, probably because it's over there in that shelf that under a bunch of stuff that's hard to get at. But yeah, it's a really, really fun game. I highly recommend it if you like D&D but don't always have the time to sit down and play like a full campaign with like an official dungeon master and like role playing and everything like that. You just play Legend of Drizzt. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We have a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons stuff. We have two versions of Risk. One is Lord of the Rings and one is the regular version. I don't care about Risk. I've never played it and I don't care to. And we have like decks of cards, and we have Left, Right, Center, which is a fun game. And like just like a friends trivia game, just kind of goofy stuff like that. That is our board game collection. I tried to be quick about it. I tried to get through each game as quick as I could while still giving it justice, because I really love a lot of these games. Are really, really good. Basically any of those games I would recommend. If you have a recommendation based off of the games and how I spoke about them in this video, please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to hear about new games that you think I would enjoy, especially when you're in a board game cafe and you don't really know what to play. It's good to have some recs up in here. But yeah, other than that, please like this video if you like this kind of thing. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later days.